Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, then I am so glad that you are able to join us. Today I'm going to be talking about 10 books to celebrate National Women's Equality Day, which is on August the 26th. Some of you already know me. My name is Jolene from Bookworm Adventure Girl, and I like to talk about books that are diverse, with diverse authors, diverse genres, and diverse stories. If that is something that you like, then please hit subscribe and join us. The 10 books that I would like to talk about today have all been written by women, but they are all different genres. I have memoir, nonfiction, historical fiction, essays, and poetry. And I'm hoping that if we have some time that I might be able to tell you about an 11th book at the end that I haven't read yet, but that I would like to read. And if you have read it, I would love to hear some of your feedback. So let's get started. The first two books that I would like to share with you are by the same author. This author is from Nigeria, and if you subscribe to my blog or if you have been on my website, you may have seen that I have spotlighted this author not too long ago. The author is Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and she has written some wonderful books, two of them that are about feminism. This one here is called We Should All Be Feminists, and it talks about what feminism means today, what it is like to be a woman today, what that means for both men and women, and that it is the responsibility of all. The book is only probably about 50 pages long. It's a very quick read, but every word in the book is important. There's not a word that is out of place. There is not fluff. So it's a fantastic read if you're looking for something that you can read in a day that is on an important topic. The second book that I would like to share with you by Chimamanda is called Dear Ijewell, or A Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions. This book is also just a short book. It's probably about 60 pages. It fits in the palm of your hand. It's a quick read. And it came about because one of Chimamanda's friends sent her a letter asking, how do I raise my daughter to be empowered and to have an identity of what it is to be a woman today and to be respected? And Chimamanda wrote 15 suggestions, which is this essay. And the 15 suggestions are fantastic, I think, for parents or non-parents, just in how we treat one another. It talks about how we do raise girls and boys differently, and some of the expectations that we put on girls that we don't put on boys. It's a really good read, and I think what I like most about Chimamanda's writing and about especially when she's talking about feminism, is that it is all inclusive. It is not just for girls, and I think anyone can take something from her books. So this is another one by her that I highly recommend. The next book that I want to talk about is a little bit older. It's called Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Estes Pinkola. It was probably published in the mid-90s, and I remember reading it then and just being amazed by how much information was on each page. And what I love about this book is that the whole idea is that women have everything that they need in themselves. They have the powerful force, they have intuition, they have a compassion, they have a desire to be creative, all of those things, and that somehow that has been lost. I believe she actually calls it an endangered species. But she says we can get it back. And she talks about the myths and folk tales and different stories that are used in a lot of different cultures, and how we have missed the point of some of those stories because they've actually been celebrating women. So I loved that idea of this book. And this is one book that I think I would like to do a reread. Here we are 25 years later, and I think that if I were to read it now as an older person, that I think I would get more out of it. And I think that it's a fantastic book if you're looking for that folk tale myth kind of thing as well, and the different cultures and different perspectives that they bring to feminism and female spirituality. So this is something that I would highly recommend if you like that kind of thing. This next book was recently published. It is a collection of poetry by Aija Mayrock, and it's called Dear Girl. And I will tell you that every single poem in this book is powerful. The words are powerful, how they are used are powerful, and its message is powerful. There are times when I was reading the poetry, I thought, wow, like she hit the nail on the head. She got right to the core of what she was trying to say. Sometimes it punches you in the stomach the next time you read the next poem and you're heartbroken. It is such a good collection of poetry. And I will also suggest that if you get the chance to listen to the audio, the book is fantastic, definitely read the book, but if you like audio, or if you get the chance to listen to the audio, it brings it to the next level. The audio is Aija performing the poems as spoken word, and she does so in such a passionate way. I will leave links to her website and to her Instagram in the description below, so please make sure that you check it out, because the more I learn about her, the more I like her. She's a young woman who has done some amazing things. So this is a really great collection of poetry if you are looking to read some poetry. The fifth book that I want to share is The Vagina Monologues by Ensler. This book is also a little bit older. It's at least 20 years old, if not more. And this book did in that time what I think Chimamanda's books are doing. They are all allowing people to talk about female spirituality, female sexuality, and feminism. And this book actually started the VDay Movement, which is against male violence. And they've actually started a play, and I've seen that a couple of times. And it's women talking about their vaginas and giving them the permission to do so, and the permission to laugh about their sexuality, the permission to enjoy their sexuality. So I know it's an older book, but I think that it's an important one, and I think that it's part of how we got to where we are today, and I think that it is still relevant. So if you get a chance, if you haven't already read The Vagina Monologues, I highly suggest maybe going back and checking that one out as well. Not That Bad is the next book on my list, and it is a collection of essays edited by Roxane Gay. You may know Roxane Gay as an author of several other books, and she's highly respected. This is a collection of about 30 essays of people who have either been raped or sexually assaulted. The title, Not That Bad, comes from the fact that either they themselves, the victims and survivors, or the people that they told said, well, it's not that bad, or they thought, oh, it's not that bad because I could have been killed, or somebody could have knifed me, or it could have been so much worse. There's always a story that's so much worse. And in all of these essays, that comes up, that somehow they thought what happened to them, even though it was horrific, is not that bad. These stories are told by people of different walks of life. Some of them are LGBTQ2S+. There are a couple of men who tell their stories. There are people who are rich and people who are not as rich. This is just a very important book. It is obviously a heavy topic. What's most important about this book is that every single voice in this book needs to be heard, deserves to be heard, and has the right to be heard. Their stories need to be told, and they have been brave enough to put their stories into this collection. This is another one that if you get the chance, and if you like audio, the audio for this is fantastic. Each person shares their story. So you hear each voice and each story told by the person who wrote it. So it brings a different element to the story. So I would highly recommend either checking out the book or the audio, but beware that the content is heavy. There were several times I had to take a break in between some of the stories because it was a lot to take in, but it's a really important read. The book that I am currently reading is called Rage Becomes Her by Soraya Chemaly. I decided to pick this book up after reading Not That Bad because this book talks about exactly what some of those people experienced. So in Not That Bad, some of, if not all, of the people who wrote their stories share how they felt that they needed to suppress their anger and rage, or that someone else had the expectation that they should suppress their anger and rage. And in this book, she talks about how rage is actually a very important emotion and a way of feeling, and that women often don't have a way of letting that out. So she talks about how girls and boys are raised differently, and the expectations of both are different when it comes to anger. I'm halfway through, and so far I think it's a fantastic book. It's obviously nonfiction, But if this is a topic that you're interested in, I highly recommend this book. It's really, really well written. The next book on my list is probably one of my most anticipated books that came out this year, and it is the Book of Longings by Sue Monk Kidd. I love Sue Monk Kidd. I have read all of her books, and I just think she is fantastic, and this was no exception. This will definitely be in my top 10 of 2020. This book, I love the concept of it. I love the writing. I loved the characters, and you probably already know if you've read other Sue Monk Kidd books, like The Secret Life of Bees, The Invention of Wings, Dance of the Dissident Daughter, Mermaid Chair. She has several out there. She writes very strong, competent, powerful women. And the idea of this book is she reimagined what it would be like if Jesus had been married. So this book is about Anna, the wife of Jesus. So Jesus is not a main character in this book, but Anna is, and this book is told by Anna's perspective and what Sue Monk Kidd imagined the life of Jesus to be and what that would have looked like. She's very respectful of scripture. She's very respectful of what we definitely do know, but she took the part of Jesus's life that we really don't know a whole lot about. We don't know a whole lot between, when he was a young child in the temple to when he started his ministry. So she took that time and thought, what if I used that and, shared this story? And it's such a beautiful story. And not only is Anna a powerful, strong woman in this book, which of course you would have to be to marry to Jesus, but the women who are surrounding her and supporting her are also powerful women. And it's just so beautifully written that it will stick with me for a long time. If you have read The Red Tent by Anita Diamant, one of my favorite books of all time, she writes about 4 women in the Torah. And she's done that for the Torah, and I think that that's what Sue Monk Kidd has done for the Gospels. Reimagined it in a way that it's from a female perspective, and it really makes a difference. Obviously, we know it's fiction, but it really brings to life some of the characters that we already know from scripture. And it's so well done. So I highly recommend this if you're into historical fiction. And if you're a fan of Sue Monk Kidd, or if you would like to read one of Sue Monk Kidd's books, this is a really good one to start with. The next 2 books that I want to share with you are memoirs. And the first one is called Bright Precious Thing by Gail Caldwell. And it was published earlier this year. It is the 4th memoir that Caldwell has published. And this one goes from the women's movement until the Me Too movement. I think that Gail Caldwell is probably in her 70s. So she was able to look back on her life and draw some things from those movements that she can say, this is how it affected my life. These are the decisions that I made. Here are some things that challenged me. Here are some things that made my life better. And what I love about this book is she talks about her 5-year-old neighbor who comes to visit her often, and how this young girl is already learning that she is enough, that she's important enough, that she can ask questions, that she's valuable. And I think for Caldwell to see that, she sees that, there is a change happening. And so she goes back and forth between her own life and then gives you snippets of this little girl's life and what their interactions are like. It was a really neat part of the book. So if you'd like to see kind of a span of what someone's life was like during that time, this is a good one to check out. The 10th book that I want to share with you is a book that I haven't read yet, but it is a book that has been on my TBR for a very long time, and I'm really hoping to get to it by the end of the year. It is a book that maybe I've put off because there's been so much information about this person, and I feel like I already know the story. But I think that it's a book that I still need to read, and that is I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai. And I think that, Malala has become almost a celebrity. She's definitely someone to admire at such a young age. She put her life on the line because she had the conviction that all girls deserved education. The fact that she has put her life on the line for that, and that she continues to live out her message and to share her message, I just think that it's something very admirable, and especially for a young girl and a young woman now. And I think that She calls us all to action, and I think that that's very important because she's asking everyone to be part of this movement. So I think reading the book, even though I haven't gotten to it yet, that I would actually really learn something from this book and learn more about her and maybe fill in some of the gaps that I don't know. So if you have read this, please let me know in the comments what you think. And if you haven't read it, I am hoping to read it by the end of the year, so let me know because maybe we can read it together. So as promised, the 11th book that I want to talk about is a book that has been on my radar for a very long time, but it is a book that I have yet to pick up, and I can kick myself because I think it would be a really important one to have on this list. I would have loved to have been able to talk about it. So the book is called The Moment of Lift by Melinda Gates. I have seen Melinda Gates be interviewed about this book several times, and I'm very impressed by her and Bill Gates and their foundation and what they are doing. The whole idea behind the book being that if we can empower women in a society, educate women in their own society, and help them with their needs for their community, their families, that it would just help the entire community that they live in and help their society. And I just love the whole idea of it. I love the moment of lift. Melinda talks about where she got that idea, and I just think it's fantastic. If you've read this book, please leave comments down below letting me know what you think of it. If you haven't read it but you would like to read it, please let me know that as well, because maybe we can do a buddy read and have a group of people together read Moment of Lift. I think it would be a fantastic one to discuss. Regardless, I do hope to read it by the end of the year, so I will definitely be talking about it in a future video. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked this list of books. Hopefully there were some new authors or new books to you. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I look forward to chatting with you there. I will be leaving all of the links and information about all the books and authors in the description below, so please check that out. Please take the time to like, subscribe if you like the content about diverse authors and diverse reading. I'd be happy to have you follow along. Happy Women's Equality Day. Please remember to celebrate the women in your life, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.